Good morning and welcome to our community organizers conversation table, roundtable. Thank you for joining us, and my name is Sharon Kibor. I'll be moderating the conversation. And just to let you know that our roundtable participants would be speaking in both English and Kiswahili, and we have translation for the non-Swahili speakers. So I work for Christian Aid as a resilience officer. My work entails working with the people that you see around the table today in communities in rural areas in Kenya, and Christian Aid works across other countries in Africa. So just to introduce our roundtable members, I'd like to first start with my left. As we go around to the end, you tell us your name, where you come from, and what you do.
Jambo, mimi naitwa Sadia Isako Huka, natoka county ya Marsabit, constituency ya Saku. Mimi ni mama aliyejitolea kusimama na wamama wengine kwa hii hali ya mabadiliko ya anga.
Thank you, Sadia. Next, please.
Silumosia from Mutomo, Kitui County. I'm a climate activist.
Good morning, all of you. My name is Obadiah Mumbe from Mutitwandei, that is in Makueni County. I am the chairman of Mutitwandei Ward Climate Change Planning Committee.
Good morning. My name is Mary Kuket from Baringo County. Community called Pokot, and I'm an activist for climate change, and also I'm chairing Tangle Bay Women Network, doing advocacy for women rights.
Thank you very much. So we will, I would ask that you give us your experiences on how you understand climate change and how does it look for you. So what does climate change look, for example, for you in Marsabit, Sadia?
Mabadiliko ya hali ya anga kwangu inamaanisha ni ile hali inabadilika kutoka hali ya kwanza, mvua inapungua, jua inakuwa kali, upepo inakuwa mingi, wakulima wanakosa mavuno na wafugaji mifugo yao inaendelea kukufa.
I don't know how that looks for you, Obadiah, down in Mutito. How does climate change look for you? Look like for the community there?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I would like to go a little bit down and say, because climate change, which is actually globally, weather changing globally, but in Mutitwandei we have a general problem after prioritizing and doing what we call participatory capacity assessment. We found that water is the main problem. And therefore we had to find out, how do we solve this problem? It being the first priority, followed by others, what do we do so that we may change the situation there? Therefore people were moving, traveling long distances to get this water. Therefore we came to discuss and decided that we should have a project that cuts across the world so that we may build dams, and we did it. And other people are very much doing good, in addition to others.
Thank you, Obadiah. You'll tell us a little bit more about what some of the things that you did to be able to do to put up the dam. But let me give Kisilu a chance to further explain what climate change means to him and his community.
To me, climate change means many things. One, I can call it a barrier to my ongoing, to my development, to everything, a twister of my plans. So because whatever I plan is not moving the way I put it. Yeah, so, well, I can say it's a helter of almost everything. During my childhood, how easy I used to get water from natural sources. It is not so now. The temperatures by then, yeah, I could at least enjoy the temperatures were very calm and welcoming, but now they are very harsh. All that, yeah. So, yeah.
It looks like we have similar experiences in terms of how we see climate change in our communities. And Mary, maybe you want to add a little bit.
Yeah, I want to add that the way Kisilu is saying, said that it is a disorganization of living standard or living patterns, whereby the way we normally do our work changed drastically because of the change of weather. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, would you please tell me what are some of the things that your communities have done to be able to sort of survive with these changes in the environment, changes in weather and climate change as you've explained? And maybe we can start with you, Obadia, because you had already mentioned something on that.
Yeah, I think what the communities have done in Mutito one day, after we established the problem, we had first to get a committee. After getting the committee, we had to go down to the people, ask them whether they could participate in trying to make everything work, everything easier for them so that the climate change effects may not be affecting them all that much. Therefore, they accepted and they said, whatever is needed, whatever is supposed to need to be done, we will do it. We'll do it all together and all this kind of thing. And we, all of us, came together. We informed the relevant authorities, they supported us. We informed the county government, they supported us. So we got support. And on top of that, we had a NGO, which was doing very good. There were a couple of them. There were ADSC, Christian Aid, Department for International Development. They all came in, and then we worked together. They helped us, we moved up, and we came up nicely. Therefore, water now is flowing nicely. And we started another second one that is now doing good as well.
So what you're saying is that you came together, organized yourselves, and approached people to bring funds together, including the county government, to be able to respond to the need for water.
Yes, it could not be done without awareness. We had to move out and involve the people and make the people participate in what we want to do. Because if they could be involved without being informed what it is, they would not facilitate very well. Therefore, we had to go around, do awareness, and all this kind of thing. And then they saw the importance. And then that's why it came later, and Sunday legislation was done that because water is coming from the rivers. So we said sand should never be collected from there unless it is authorized. So we came together and then we did everything together.
That's really interesting that out of your action, you are able to influence policy processes at the county. And I think that's really something very interesting. So maybe to you, Sadia, would you tell us some of the things that your community has done to just survive in this context of climate change?
Watu walibadilisha ile hali ya kwanza, wakulima kwa sababu kila mara wanapanda na hawapati mavuno, walibadilisha wakapanda miraa. Kwa sababu hiyo miraa ni mimea yenye inaistahimili jilali, na watu wa mifugo walibadilisha, wakaachana na ng'ombe wakaenda kwa ngamia, kwa sababu ngamia inaweza survive wakati wa jilali. Na wengine walitoka mashinani wakakuja mjini, wakaanza kufanya kibarua, biashara ndogo ndogo, kwa sababu hawana mfugo na shamba ifanye kazi. Mimi nikiwa mmoja wao, nilitoka mashambani nikakuja mjini, nikaanza biashara kidogo kidogo. Tukaanzisha kikundi ya wamama, wakashikana, tukawekeza pesa kidogo kidogo, mpaka hata washirika waliingilia, wakatupea trainings, wakatufunza hali ya kuweka records, tukakucha kiwango ya tukafunza table banking mpaka tukafikia hali ya kuweka pesa pamoja, tukaanza kupeana mkopo.
Asante sana Sadia kwa hayo. I think Sadia has given us an idea of what communities have done by their own initiative, and that's really another interesting dimension when we think about how communities are able to cope with climate change. Kisilu, maybe just in summary, some of the things that your community has also done.
One understanding about climate change, it has two phases. There is adaptation and mitigation. With adaptation, it's whereby people are trained on how to survive despite the fact that the rains are not there, are not enough, droughts are coming now and then. So now, for the community, they have trained themselves on seed selection. Yeah. At first, we decided, so that we can sustain ourselves in our villages, we decided to do seed selection and breed selection. We select seeds that can do well with the shortest rains that we are experiencing. That is one. Second, their acceptance to coming together and discuss is another act that made it easy for the community to need. Changing their mindset. Yeah. Also, accepting to spread the gospel to the neighboring. It's another need. Accepting to plant trees. You know. Yeah. So, accepting to plant even some crops, even if we don't take them as food. Knowing very well they are doing well, we can exchange and get what we normally eat. For that matter. So that knowledge, it's locally, achieved. Then, accepting to make groups, to make it easier for the government officers to attend us. An officer cannot just go door to door. So accepting to form these groups is another tool, it's another activity that my community has done to all that. Water harvesting, terraces making, grass planting, all that. Discipline in farming practices, is another. Thank you.
Very interesting adaptation strategies, I can say, for Kisilu's community on, climate smart agriculture and approaches that allow them to be able to still be able to do their farming despite really scarce water and failed rainfall. Over to you, Mary. What are some of the things that your community is doing to counter the impacts of climate change?
Yeah, as I said that my community, we are nomadics, whereby we rely on animals, livestock, but now because of the climate change, men are moving away with their animals. Now that women and girls and elderly people are now behind, left back, and that now we realize a lot of gender-based violence in women because of inadequate food. And after realizing this, as women, we come together, we form groups, and then we sensitize ourselves on how to adapt and what to do. So the community came up with poultry keeping, which is very hard for them because they are nomads. They are not used to, but it has forced us to do the same. We do farming, small farms like kitchen gardens, and also we do the table bankings. Now we call them VSLAs, so that we can have some money. We loan from our groups so that we can as well spend for our school fee, for school fees for our children, and for us to survive. So and also we were able to do some charter of demands to our county government, so that they can make some policies that will be favoring us. And also, in doing the same, we found that our county assembly doesn't have that capacity to adopt 2016 Act. So for us, we were just trying to make them understand, but still it is a gap. But community now are really resilient, yeah.
Thank you, Mary. And I think you brought a very interesting dimension to how climate change impacts different groups of the communities. And you've talked about how it has even driven issues of SGBV, sexual and gender-based violence amongst women. And I think that's a critical thing to talk about. And it's also interesting that women are finding space to do something about the impacts of climate change affecting their group. So that's really interesting. And you've all talked about how you've tried to work with the county. So what are some of the key things that have worked well, and what are some of the key things or key challenges that you have faced? So maybe you can start with you, Kisilu.
I can tell you that we have several, irrigation farms around. Some other 2 other dams are manned by both the national and the county government, and they are still assisting the community on training them on how to irrigate, all that. Also, with the foresters around, have come down and trained the groups on how to put up tree nurseries, how to transplant them, how to pot them, all that. So we are sure of what we are doing, and at least we have also appointed some other farmers to keep on going around and educate other communities to do the same. Put up nurseries, plant, all that. Yeah. School like headmasters and school principals have also come down to take the education so that they can take them back to our pupils in school. That is what we have got.
Yeah, thank you. That's really nice to hear how the county is supporting farmers. And maybe just one challenge or one difficulty in working with the county, if there's any.
Yeah. I had one strong challenge with working with the county. These changes of like the other time we had a governor, and we changed the governor. The attitude in divers. The next governor may fail to understand, and that happened. We worked very well with the previous governor who came. It took me a time, and up to moment we never worked together as we did to the last one. So what I can say there is, if a record can be kept in our offices sustainably, be it who come next to follow them as a government minuted point, that can sound better.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So what you're saying is that we need to have consistency in how counties respond to climate change and support communities, despite the changes in terms of leadership that happens every 5 years. Yeah. Thank you very much. Maybe we want to hear a little bit about Marsabit. What are some of the things that the county has done well in working with communities, and just maybe one challenge as well?
Sisi wa mama tulishikana, tukaenda kupeleka malalamishi yetu, na kupitia project ya Pasida tuliweza kupewa mafunzo kuhusu wamama na bajeti, tukafunzwa mambo ya public participation, na hapo tulipewa nafasi kuenda kupeleka malalamishi yetu kama wamama. Tukaenda kusema ile shida tuko nayo, kwa sababu huko mbeleni wazee ndio walikuwa wanapewa nafasi, kwa sababu ni contractors ndio wanawachagua ili waende waseme kile contractors wanahitaji. Lakini sisi tulipata nafasi, tukapeleka malalamishi yetu kwa sababu hakuna maji, hakuna njia. Na kwa mara ya kwanza hiyo ilileta mabadiliko na tukapewa water tanks. Na ile challenges nyingine County iko huko tu, lakini hata ukipeleka malalamishi, kwa sababu hii mabadiliko ya hali ya anga huko kwetu imeleta vita, kwa sababu watu wamepoteza mali, hakuna hali ya kilimo iendelee vizuri, vijana wamebadilika, wamekuwa wezi, na watu kwa sababu kila mtu anajipenda, wameanza kupigana kwa sababu ya maji na nyasi. Na sasa kwa sababu ya hiyo hali, kuna wale wanashughulikiwa zaidi na kuna wale wamebaki nyuma kwa sababu serikali wameweka kando. Kwa hivyo ile challenges iko ni hakuna usawa kwa jamii kwa upande ya county government.
Another key thing coming out of what Sadia is saying is that conflict can sometimes arise because of climate change, and it's a real threat in Marsabit. But the county is trying to support the different initiatives by the different groups, with, of course, the challenge that she's mentioned. Over to you, Mary. Let's talk a little bit about how you've worked with the county.
Because of the charter of demand that we present to the county government, they were able to come down to us and do some trainings with the relevant ministries, and with collaboration with NDMA. Yeah, they were able to come and train women groups on how to do the adaptations, and also to incorporate the natural adaptation and the scientific way, so that we marry together so that we can see what will work and what is not working. So that is one thing they did to us. And some challenges. Okay, they were thinking of mobilizing some resources, but still it was a challenge. That is one thing they were trying to do. But we understand the county governments didn't receive money, so that was a big challenge to the county government in implementation. Now, the big challenge is the resources, and also the time they make some decisions, they don't involve the women. That's a big challenge. Sometimes when we want to mitigate, or we want to do away with all this, we need to have women in board, because we normally see that women are at the center of these actions. And if women are not participating in decision-making spaces, then I think we are still being dragged down and experiencing the same challenges. Now that's a challenge in Baringo County. And also because of the communities living in Baringo County, they normally have conflicts because of resource-based. It's a resource-based conflict, whereby we have the Pokots, we have the Tugen and Ilchams living together, but sometimes we realize a lot of conflicts because of lack of pasture and water. So the other community will be migrating, finding water and pasture in the other community. Now the county government are not able to bring these three communities together so that they can do some negotiation or dialogues with them so that they can resolve all these problems, and putting some priorities when CIDPs are being made together so that they can know how to challenge the conflict that we realize. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Also very interesting to see similarities with Marsabit County because of the way of life, pastoralism, conflict also coming up, and a challenge around how planning is done and involving women. So finally to you, Obadiah.
I will say one word. We have got a challenge with the county government. And one among others, which I'm going to say, is the implementation of the Climate Change Act that was passed in 2016. For example, my friend has said, you plant trees where? There has never been a earmarking of the river starts from here up to there. Plant trees here. That is the riparian area. That land still belongs to the owner. When we are told plant trees here, that is not very clear. The county government should come up very clearly, say it reaches here and here, plant trees there. Who is going to take care of these trees? That is the weakness of the county government. Who is now plant, the community plant, but who is going to take care of the trees? Where is the money going to come from for those people who are taking care of the trees? So that is one problem. The other one is the forming of the sustainability committees of the finished project. An NGO, for that matter, may come and say, well, this is a project, we have done it for you, proceed. Now, a war gets in there. Who is going to sustain? The project is not going to be sustained as it is required. The committee is not, it is going to be left that way, and that project is completely dead. That is another problem. The wetland areas, where a legislation should be there to say, let us take care of this one. Having prioritized water here, let us see where the waters are and take care of those areas. Those are some of the weaknesses, those are some of the challenges that we have with the county government. Again, when the county government is trying to talk about issues of climate change, or a non-government organization is coming with that kind of idea, they are not very much interested. They come as though they don't want. They should be informed very clearly. This is for the betterment of the county. Come in, bring your staff, let them be trained alongside with these ones or the NGOs. And then you take over, you continue. They are not interested with that one. They seem to be aloof, and they don't know anything about climate change. They don't know. But they are aloof. You need to call them environment officers. But what do you talk? These are just some of the challenges. Putting the county officials together with the NGOs who are the expertise of climate change.
Very interesting, really. Issues of coordinating players in climate change work in counties is coming up. And of course, issues of implementation of policies, including the Climate Change Act of 2016, as you've mentioned. So that's really interesting, and I think there's quite a bit of similarities across the county, the different counties that we come from. Now, how would you want the counties, or what would you like to see for you to be able to work better with the counties? What are some of the things that the counties can do, or even the national government institutions, like she mentioned NDMA? What are some of the things that can be done to enable you to work better? Because clearly the community has a role when it comes to climate change action.
Okay, fine. I think first of all we need to do, we carry out a vulnerability analysis together with the stakeholders so that we can develop community management in the ground. And also we work with all stakeholders or all sectors within the county so that we will be bringing all our forces together and work together on the same direction. And also increasing finance to the adaptation so that we can mitigate the climate change. Yeah.
So, Kisilu, what do you think could be done better to allow communities and counties to work together?
According to my understanding, I do understand this and fail to advise this. It has taken us some years to arrive to the destination that we are now. So causing climate changes, it has taken like 100 years. And so a period of time will be needed also to repair it. So whatever we are thinking about climate change fighting should be sustainable. Let me talk of, what do I mean here? Something like not with the breaks. If it is a source of fund, the governments, when I talk of governments, we talk of global governments, should think of sustainable sources of funds for climate change fighting. One. Second, there should be good plan and arrangements on our governance in this, because we are ever changing leaders, but we have sustainable plans for whoever comes to sit on what has been planned already. Not just come and they come with indifferent idea that it will take us some time to think about it, all that. Yeah, to put as a role now, as a rule that this should be done and have a time frame. If we say 100 years, it is there for 100 years. Whoever comes there finds a minute which says we are doing this for 100 years. Well, I lack terminologies. I lack the terminologies for this, what I'm trying to drive across. But if government can share my feeling with me, can have long-term plans for everything. And also I can say, we voters now, we can as well start training our people on who to vote for, because it needs sound-minded people to see this, what farmers are saying. These people who are at the grassroots, what they are trying to press. Because the leaders, it's like they are very happy seeing community starving, because when they call, we will come running. We want to stand by ourselves. So if a solution can be found to put concrete solutions to this, what we are saying, we can be thinking that we are moving to the right direction.
Very, very, very powerful, Kisilu. You're saying that we need to have the voices of communities for sure in influencing decisions of those long-term plans and plans that transcend across the different leaderships that come and go. And I totally agree with you that it has to be something that whichever leadership comes in is able to take up and continue with going forward. And over to you, Obadia, then lastly, Sadia.
The implementation of the climate change in whole should be implemented very well. Other things will follow. If this one is implemented very well, things will work smoothly and without any problem. Because the county government, its own CIDPs, County Integrated Development Plans, the climate change should not be like a something that is, you can give them something small. No, let it be put there in the County Integrated Development Plans, that they know there's a climate change, but that should be allocated. But not that 1%, ama that 1.2%. I've seen it. No, there should be something done. If that one is implemented, and the formation of the county climate change fund boards and all this, and then it trickles down. Not in those offices, no. It should be trickled down to the ward level. That's where the vulnerability, everything is, and therefore things will be tackled and there will be no problem. Things will move as far as climate, because you cannot be talking about climate change as though we are joking. It is a very serious issue that should be taken very seriously. Somebody sitting in Nairobi where you also may not be feel it, but when you go there, you will see, yes, the effects of climate change. So if the implementation of that law is implemented very fully, there will be no problem.
Thank you. Again, on implementing plans and not just having climate change work separate from the other sectors, but ensuring that climate change work is integrated into the other sector plans and implemented. Thank you very much. And finally to you, Sadia.
Kile ningependa serikali wafanye, county government, hata isipokuwa kuna mkakati imewekwa, kuna sheria imewekwa, inaitwa Climate Change Act 2020. Kuna mahali imefika lakini bado haijaanza. Lakini kile nataka ni jamii wananchi na serikali, county government wakaribiane. Wasiweke hiyo ukuta katikati ya wananchi na wao ili wasikaribiane, kwa sababu watu wakikuja pamoja ndio wanafanya mambo makuu. Lakini watu wakikaa kando kando hakuna kile wanaweza kufanya. Wananchi wapewe mafunzo na hii trainings ifike huko mashinani. Sio ati wanachukua hapo wapita njia tu wenye hata hawawezi enda fikia wengine. Wamama, vijana na wazee wahamasishwe, wajue haswa climate change ni nini. Kwa sababu watu wengine hawajui. Wengine wanasema kile imeleta hii janga ni laana, sijui ni nini, wanaelezea na njia tofauti. Lakini hii mabadiliko ya hali ya anga ni watu ndio wameleta. Ni watu ndio wanakata mti, ni watu ndio wanafanya vitu mingi. Hii miraa inasema watu wamepanda, kwanza hata imeharibu zaidi. Miraa wanapanda, wanaweka dawa na hiyo dawa inaharibu rutuba ya ardhi. Kwa hivyo ukitoa miraa na ukijaribu kupanda huwezi panda tena. Tangu miraa ikuje Marsabit, hatujawahi pata mahindi na maharagwe vile tunapandanga kawaida hatupati. Kwa hivyo watu wanafaa kufundishwa ni nini ndio inaleta hii mabadiliko ya hali ya anga. County government wanafaa kukaribia wananchi, watembee kila kona, wawajulishe watu, wajue. Kwa sababu tangu hii hali ya anga ibadilike, kuna vile watu wamechimbiwa boreholes. Watu wanategemea boreholes. Sasa kwa sababu wameona ni nzuri, kila mahali wanasema wachimbiwe. Hawajui hii maji inatoka wapi na hawajui ni kiasi gani ndio inafaa kuchimbwa ndio wapate maji. Sasa hili wapate tu maji wanaenda kuchimba kila mara na wanajiongezea shida. Kwa hivyo wananchi ndio wanafaa kupata masomo zaidi ndio wajue, kwa sababu hao wenyewe ni wanadamu na hao wenyewe ni watu wako na akili. Wakishikiliwa tu kidogo wanaweza jisaidia. Kwa sababu mahali tumefika saizi sisi kama wamama, kuna mafunzo mengi tumepata. Hata Christian Aid walitufunza njia ya kuweka shamba ndogo karibu na nyumba. Tunapanda mboga kwa gunia ama nylon, beseni na mambo mingi, na tunapata mboga kidogo. Kuku, asali, tumejifunza mambo mingi. Ni kwa sababu watu wa mashirika isiyokuwa ya serikali wametukaribia zaidi kuliko watu wa serikali ya county. Kwa hivyo serikali ya county, kile ninawaomba, wasikae tu huko kwa maofisi na waangalie raia wakiangamia. Kwa sababu yale inaendelea Marsabit saizi. Wiki iliyopita watoto 3 waliuawa, ikiwa mtoto wa class 3 ndani, grade 3 ndani. Haya yote imeletwa kwa sababu watu hawajui haki yao, wanaangalia watu wa siasa, wanapigana kwa sababu ya watu wa siasa. Na shida sio hapo, ni kutojua ndio imefanya wapoteze watu wengi.
Now to our final word as we end the session. If you had an opportunity to speak to an audience, like the one Kisilu attended, the COP, there's a COP that is happening this year in the UK. If you had an opportunity to say something to those heads of governments who sit there and make decisions, what would you say? So we'll start from you, Mary, Mary, then we come and end at Sadia's.
I would like to urge the national government and county government to put more resources to climate change, and in line with that, to do more trainings to the community, and they come out from their convert zones, and then they come down to where the problem is. Yeah.
Developed countries, some of them are undermined. They are not willing to give finances. That climate change cannot be done without finance. No, it is a third leg. That is adaptation, resilient. How are this going to be maintained without money? No. The finance must come. And because they don't want to give their money, I will also tell my president, please work harder, and tell the county governments to put, in addition to yours at the treasury, where the turn is, that climate change issue should be taken very seriously. And a lot of money must be pumped to the levels where actually the climate change should be handled very carefully. Therefore, surely, if I could be given time to talk in Paris, those conferences, I would tell the world leaders, let's talk. Gas emission. Ile mingi kwanza inatoka huko kwenu. These others are coming, cutting tree. All these things cannot be done unless there's money. And this money will act as a catalyst. It prevent other people from doing all this kind of spoiling the environment. Therefore, they should release finances for the purposes of enhancing climate change.
Thank you very much. And again, the conversation on money, resourcing, adaptation at the community level is also coming out very strongly from Obadiah's point. Thank you very much. Over to you, Kisilu.
What I can advise to the world leaders from my experience is that, one, I have to tell them that community are the key drivers of the climate change, fighting. And they need total involvement. That is one. Second, they need funding to move with the adaptation. And I have to compare the community, the global community, with APON. There is somebody with APON who just attends APON only to communicate, to receive calls, and what have you. Community brains are like PON. When you fail to activate some hubs in the community, they stay dormant. Yeah, so I can advise global government that we have something, we community, we have some hubs which are not activated. So the government should make sure that they activate our hubs in our brains. Yeah, this point I took it from my local community. I thought they could not do better, but now they are doing better than I could expect. An indication is that just some hubs were not activated. So let's activate our communities' hubs in their brains, and they will do better than we are doing. Yeah.
Thank you, Kisilu. The phone analogy is very close home to all of us. Yeah. There are apps that if you don't use, at some point, apps need to be upgraded, apps need to be used. So you're saying communities have local knowledge and their own resources that needs to be tapped into when we do climate change actions, and that it's important for decision makers to consider those resources that are with communities. That's really, really powerful. And finally to you, Sadia.
Mimi kama ningepewa nafasi, ningetaka kusema kwa sababu hii mabadiliko ya hali ya anga, kile imeleta hiyo mabadiliko kwanza haswa inatoka huko ng'ambo, kwa sababu ya ile maisha, kwa ile vile wanaishi, kwa sababu mambo mingi wanatumia machine, wanatumia vitu mingi ile inabadilisha hali ya anga, na wao wamekaa tuko hawajui kama ni hao ndio wamesababisha hii hali, kwa sababu kila chakula na kila mambo yao yote inapitia machine factories, na ile madhara ndio ikakuja kuleta hali ya mabadiliko ya anga, kwa sababu ni hawa ndio wanakaa huko na wengine ni donors. Ningependa sana washikilie kwanza, haswa mashirika isiyokuwa ya serikali, wakawapee pesa mingi ili waende wasimame na wale wananchi wenye wanapitia hali ngumu katika hii mabadiliko ya hali ya anga. Na ningependa wenye wanakaa huko na wanaongea mambo ya climate change wakuje na wafike na waone ile madhara climate change imeleta kwa wale watu wanakaa mashinani, kwa sababu nadhani wengi climate change kwao ni kama hadithi tu. Hawajawahi ona vile watu wameathirika, hawajawahi ona kiwango watu wamefika kwa sababu ya mabadiliko ya anga, ya hali ya anga. Na nimesema watu wa mashirika isiyokuwa ya serikali washikiliwe mkono, kwa sababu ni hawa ndio wanakaribia sana wananchi. Na serikali pia wanafaa kusaidiwa, lakini ile usaidizi inapita kwa serikali, haifiki haraka kwa wananchi. Kuna pesa naona watu wanapewa ya anga safety net, sijui inaitwa nini, anga safety. Kuna pesa imewekwa, waliweka mkakati watu wapewe wakati wa jilali, na kwa muda mrefu hatujaona. Kwa hivyo hiyo pesa kuna mfuko inaenda na inakwamia hapo. Lakini kama ingeenda kwa projects, ingefikia wananchi.
Wow, I cannot say anything more. I think Sadia is asking for accountability, that whatever funds that and resources that are set aside for responding to impacts of climate change, that this money actually is used to that end. And I think, in summary, what this roundtable really has said is that communities have resources, communities have a role to play when it comes to climate change action. The community is at the heart of climate change impact, and you cannot separate their involvement when it comes to thinking of interventions from spaces where those decisions are made. So that's the key message that we are taking away, that communities are doing something at their own level, in their own small way. If they are given resources, then they are able to do more, and they want to see different stakeholders working with them, including the county governments, to enable climate change actions that would bring real resilience in the lives of communities. So we are going to the question and answer session with Wanja from our virtual audiences, to be able to hear if they have any questions to the panel, and then we continue.
There's a lot of comments coming through, and a lot of people, say what is going on the table is resonating with different experiences that they've had, whether it's up country or just generally in their lives. I'm just going to read out to you some of the comments that we're getting right now. We have Jeremy Atambo, who says, I like how leadership takes the center stage when it comes to climate change. Moreover, I do agree that women should be part and parcel of the decision-making process. We have Apa Mwambeo saying, my community in Taita Taveta is helpless. They have turned themselves into fate, and something should be done. We have someone called Game saying the government policy implementation challenges being highlighted are hitting home. We also have a contribution here that speaks to some of the work that the Ministry of Environment is doing. Sheila says, very true, Sadia. Climate change education, training, and access to climate information is critical. And she says the Ministry of Environment and Forestry recognizes this and is working with stakeholders at the national and county levels to address climate change literacy at all levels. And the development of the national climate change learning strategy for 2021-2030. And they recognize storytelling there as well. Sharon, the last comment that I'm going to read for you from what we are getting in the chat, we have Game saying at Esther 100%, and that I think he's agreeing with one of the panelists. He says that the crazy thing is that some of those policies hold keys for the growth of a green economy that can help drive COVID recovery, such as opportunities to turn pandemic crisis into a much needed reset of systems. Yes, so that's some of the feedback that we're getting for this session.
Thank you very much, Wanja. I think our virtual participants are resonating with the conversation that we are having and the key things that we've talked about, really. And that's really good to know that these are not just experiences in Kitui and Makueni, but these are experiences across the country, and I hope across the globe, and Africa in particular. And I hope that some of the things that the participants have shared on this roundtable that communities are doing could give and spur action at community level, but also could challenge people who make decisions and people who hold resources. So that would be it from our roundtable. If there are no more questions.